Hi, you guys. My name is Faye, and I need a vacation, and I think you do too. So let's distract ourselves with some reality TV mess. Today, I'll be recapping The Real Housewives of Orange County, the first Housewives to ever do it, and it's season 19, episode 1. So I'm excited. Let's get into it. We start the season off with a montage of everyone. Shannon and Tamra are feeding their dogs, and I'm a little worried about Archie, honestly. Like, he looks really overweight, no? Or is it just the fur? I hope it's the fur. Gina and Travis are walking through a house that she's supposed to sell, I guess. And Emily and her family are at the skating rink. Heather and Terry are at their house. Terry's showing off his abs. Good for you. And Jen and Ryan are doing skincare. I think that's so cute. In the first real scene of the season, Shannon and Katie are on their way to go car shopping at BMW. Katie wants a Series 7 BMW, and she wants it to have a red bow, which I totally get. They're on their way, and in the confessional, Katie tells us that she's gotten way closer with Shannon ever since the reunion. You remember when the girls, especially Emily and Heather, did that gang up on Katie, where they revealed that they had been digging up her past and they were exposing the most intimate family issues she's had to deal with. Like, they were dragging her for losing custody and for being involved in an incident with the police. Just disgusting what they did, I really have to say. And Katie felt like Shannon was one of the only ones who actually stood up for her. And ever since then, they've gotten closer. In the car, Katie tells Shannon that she's recently been at a golf event with her husband, and she describes it as a scene of PENIS. Shannon, however, tells her that she's not looking for a man, and good for you, Shannon. In her confessional, Shannon also tells us that she's a completely different person this year. Pause. Shannon says this like every season, I fear. I hope, though, that she really is a different person this year. I really want her to be happy and joyous and to just have a really calm and relaxed season. Like, she's gone through so much. I feel like ever since she's gotten on the show, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Shannon also reveals that she did end up settling her lawsuit with her ex, John Jansen, and she settled it for $60K. I am so annoyed at that. Honestly, that man did not deserve a penny. But I do understand that she wants peace of mind, and she just wanted to be done with that loser, so I get it. Also, Shannon will be hosting a spa day, the first event of the season, at the Golden Doors, but we'll get more into that later. At the car dealership, Shannon also brings up the situation with Kylie, who, if we remember, is Katie's daughter, and that whole Emily thing. Remember in the last season, Kylie told her mom that when she was babysitting Emily's children, that they had told her that Heather is mean. And that was just supposed to be a funny story, which is what both Kylie and Katie say, but it went totally off the rails. It became this big thing for bad-mouthing Heather in front of her children, and she kept assuring Heather that she never said that. But then, off-season, Emily's former nanny had reached out to Katie to confirm her story and really told her that, yeah, these kids do not like Heather. Now, this is why the ladies are mad at Katie this season. Apparently, Katie then responded to the nanny and referred her to a podcast she could go on to tell her story, which the nanny promptly did. Next, we catch up with Gina. She's in her new home. Apparently, her and Travis have moved back in together. Why the whole moving out thing then? Like, she could have saved that. I mean, imagine the moving costs and everything else and the sadness for the children involved just for them to move back in together a year later. Anyway, Gina tells us that the house is 5,800 square feet, and it's actually so big that there aren't many residences in her neighborhood that are that size. But she says that it has 5 bedrooms. And I'm like, wait, I mean, I thought there were 6 children. So even now in this big house, children have to share a room together. And I mean, I think that's totally fine. But I remember last season, Gina made it such a big deal that her children didn't have space and she felt like she was not doing her best for her children. So that's a little strange to me. Also, we do not see the house from the outside, which frustrates me because I want to see it. Like, don't show us your brand new house and we can't even see what it looks like. Gina does admit that space was never the real issue. In fact, while she was on a trip in Bali, she realized that she had been making decisions based on fear. And the reason she basically kicked Travis out was because she was afraid of the whole situation between him and his hostile ex, and it was affecting her life. But she says that she's done making decisions based on fear and she feels free now. Emily shows up to see Gina's new house. I don't remember, did she bring her a housewarming gift? I don't think she did, which is poor etiquette, Emily. Also, did Emily do something to her face? Let's just say it looks different. Static, even. Gina addresses the Katie situation, and Emily shares that even Annabelle's friends, they have social media and they read about her and bring it up to her, and she just feels so violated. But she's placing the focus less on the nanny, who's the one who did the actual violation, but more so on Katie for connecting the nanny with this podcast. But I do have to say, I get that she feels violated, because imagine trusting this person, this professional or supposed professional, with your children, the most important thing in your life, and then they go and spill out your family secrets. That is just wrong. What's interesting, however, is that when Gina says that the nanny story isn't even real, Emily is quiet. And she goes on to just say that her biggest fear is that this story is being picked up and just repeated all over different outlets. Gina believes that Emily and Katie need to talk, so she invites Emily to a meeting that she had already set up with Katie. That is just wrong, and honestly, these two are obnoxious already. We go back to the car dealership with Shannon and Katie, and Shannon does let Katie know that her issue is that their children, as a group, they just do not go on podcasts. Like, they don't get involved in the drama. And she blames Katie for seemingly being okay with that. Katie, however, counters that she wanted her daughter to be able to tell her truth. Because remember, Kylie was being made out to be a liar. And also, Katie reminds Shannon of the whole reunion debacle with Emily and Heather bringing up her custody issues. And she said she was mad, rightfully so. Apparently, Emily has never even apologized. So that's low. Shannon also feels just like Gina that the two of them should just talk. In the next scene, we see Shannon FaceTiming with her daughter, Stella. Stella is in Amsterdam. She will be spending all her 4 years of college there. In her confessional, Shannon lets us know that she's been speaking to Stella and telling her, like, at some point you will have to get a job. Life is not going to be like this, which I think is good. And also, what was funny on the FaceTime call with her daughter, because Stella said she was going to rave, and Shannon was like, what happens when you do drugs? And Stella was like, you die. I thought it was so funny. We meet Heather and Terry in their home. Apparently their daughter Max is also away. She's spending a semester in Paris. And they also talk about their newly acquired home in the Beverly Hills, and they are having some issues. Apparently the house is full of asbestos. And Terry even shares with Heather that his stepfather died from it. Also, there are issues with the contractor. They came in at $8 million over budget, but they only told them this once they had already ripped up the house. So now they have this big ripped up house. Also, the contractor told them that it's going to be a 3-year build, and Heather and Terry are just not into it. They don't feel like it's worth the money or the time, so they want to sell it as quickly as possible. Heather, however, wants to do the floors, which comes up to about $46K, I think they said. And Heather doesn't think that's a lot at all. And Terry's like, yeah, you spend that on a party. Out of touch, but good for you. In the next scene, and this is a difficult one, Emily is at home with her 2 boys, and she's trying to feed her son some snacks. In the confessional, she shares that her son has avoidance restrictive food intake disorder. We're going to be moving on. I don't feel comfortable speaking about a child. I don't want to invade his privacy any more than it already has been. So on to the next. Tamra is in therapy. She's crying yet again. No tears are coming out. Her face is barely even moving. Apparently, she's been in therapy for 3 to 4 months and she's blaming all of her behavior on her past difficulties. She blames her custody battle with her ex-husband, the situation with her daughter. Remember, she doesn't speak to her, as well as even her father leaving. Ma'am, you are old enough to have dealt with this. Like, you can't use it as an excuse. I'm so sorry. The therapist then addresses the autism claim. Remember that after Tamra had been getting so much backlash for her vile behavior on last season, she went on her podcast and told everyone that she had autism. Now, the therapist tells her that the symptoms from unprocessed trauma can mimic the symptoms of autism, but there are actually way too many variables, and it is not possible to diagnose her with autism until she's been fully assessed. So when she made that claim on her podcast, she hadn't even gone through testing. She didn't even have a diagnosis. And when she said it, I remember she said it almost triumphant, like, yes, I have an excuse. She was really instrumentalizing a serious disorder that she hadn't even been diagnosed with yet. In her confessional, Tamra paints herself out to be the victim. She doesn't want to be called horrible anymore. And in the therapy session, the therapist brings up her daughter, Sydney, who, as we know, is not in contact with Tamra. And Tamra seriously sits there and says that her daughter never even gave her a chance. Like, Tamra, what is not clicking? Your daughter does not want to be discussed on national television. She has asked you multiple times to not discuss her, and you keep bringing her up, or shout out to Portia, re-bringing her up. And then you even blame her even now, and then you wonder why you don't have a relationship with her. Tamra then tells her therapist that she's afraid to form any serious relationships with friends because she has just been done wrong so many times. And she's afraid people will turn on her. Tamra, you are the one doing wrong and turning on people. Like, what is wrong with you? Talk about delusional. Jen and Ryan are doing some swimwear shopping, but it turns out they're not shopping for the next vacation. Ryan actually wants Jen to get married in a bikini. Yes, a bikini. Honestly, I feel like that's kind of tacky, but I mean, it could also be fun. And then also, it's their life and their decision. And if that's what makes them happy, they should totally go for it. Who am I to judge? Jen brings up the fact that she does not want to invite Tamra because of all the pain and havoc she's caused. She feels that Tamra has tried to hurt them. And also she explains that her careless words could have affected her custody. Because remember, Tamra had claimed that Ryan's house was raided by the FBI. And her ex-husband would have had the perfect reason to say, look, this is not a safe space for our children. They both feel like they are targets for Tamra. And in her confessional, Jen explains that when they first met Ryan, Tamra was obsessed with him and really wanted to, get close to him. And she thinks that Tamra is just upset and jealous because he did not end up picking her. Then Ryan brings up that the therapy she's doing now is just as fake as her baptism. And I couldn't agree more. Side note, Jen comes out in a bikini and her body is everything. Ryan did make me a little uncomfortable, however, because he sweeps her up and goes to the dressing room with her. And I'm like, no, inappropriate. Please stop. In the next scene, Heather, Tamra, and Emily go out. Heather and Emily arrive first, and Heather gives Emily a belated birthday gift because apparently they've both had birthdays recently, and she gifts her this beautiful monogrammed scarf from Dior that she got her in Paris. And of course, Emily doesn't have anything for Heather. Bad etiquette, Emily. Tamra shows up and they're all saying she's so skinny now, which Tamra blames on all the stress that therapy has put on her. Oh, I noticed that the server, they had ordered meatballs and he came to the table with a plate and he served the meatballs one by one. Weird. Do not like that. Just bring the plate, man. So apparently, aside from the issue that Emily has with Katie, Tamra also blocked Katie on Instagram because she had heard that Katie had allegedly reached out to a blogger that had been dragging Tamra and claiming that she was running fake accounts to console that blogger. Tamra actually ended up threatening this blogger with legal action, and the stories are conflicting here. Tamra claims that Katie called the blogger to console her. Now, we see a scene where we see the blogger talking on social media, I guess, and the blogger says that Katie DM'd her to console her. Now, Katie herself says that the blogger actually reached out to her and they never spoke on the phone. She never called her, and she also doesn't even know her first name. So Katie ended up telling Tamra that she really wants to prove it to her and that she's going to search through her DMs. Emily then calls Katie a liar, and Heather claims that she's trying to hurt everyone. That's so annoying. They are just being so dramatic. Like, they're acting like Katie killed someone. Like, get over it. Like, all the housewives, or at least a good few of them, talk to bloggers and leak things. And she didn't steal anyone's puppy. It's not that serious. Heather says that Katie has an excuse for everything, which is when Emily brings up that Gina had told her that even Jen had said that she felt like Katie's stories weren't lining up, and she even called her a con artist. In a flashback scene, we see Gina and Jen sitting there, and Gina actually repeats what Jen had supposedly told her off camera and said,
"You even used the word con artist."
And then Jen goes,
"Did I? That's terrible."
So we never even saw a confirmation that she did say that. I am somewhat inclined to believe that she did call Katie a con artist, because I think, like, if she hadn't, she would have straight up said, "I never said that." Like, that's a weird response to be like, "Did I?" That's terrible. I do have to somewhat agree with Tamra here. She says that Jen just tells everyone what they want to hear, and that would explain that weird reaction. They then talk about Jen and Ryan's upcoming wedding, and Tamra doesn't believe that she'll be allowed to clean bathrooms there, let alone be invited to the wedding. And I think that's probably true. Gina and Emily are on the way to their coffee date with Katie, and in the car, Emily shares with Gina that her son is now believed to have autism as well, because apparently eating disorders and autism often present together. Again, moving on, Emily does say that she feels emotionally tapped out, which makes sense. They get to the coffee spot. Katie shows up and she says that she feels ambushed and had no idea Emily was coming. Gina then speaks on Emily's behalf, saying that Emily has lost a lot of trust in Katie this last year, and she tells her that even Jen was questioning her behavior and calling her a con artist. Now, in her confessional, Katie says that she does not believe that at all because she speaks to Jen 10 times a day. I didn't know they were that close. Katie concedes that she probably should have just ignored the nanny, but she was feeling very hurt and pissed after the reunion thing. Emily then screams in her face that she's also been hurt at reunions as well, and that that was not an excuse. But Emily, didn't you bring up this woman's custody issues and police issues because you were hurt and upset? And to me, that is way worse than referring people to bloggers. Katie tries to defend herself by saying that it was her first reunion, and she's clearly hoping for some understanding here, but Emily just keeps yelling in her face, like, seriously, her eyes are almost crossing. Interestingly enough, though, her face isn't moving. Emily then claims that she has boundaries, but Katie doesn't. No, Emily, clearly you do not have boundaries if, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, you go digging in someone's custody issues and police reports. Katie then brings this up and says that clearly Emily broke the pact they had made during the season to not bring up each other's children's again or each other's pasts again. But Emily then claims that that was okay because she did it to her face. Gina somehow wrings a very fake apology out of Emily for going into Katie's past. Katie apologizes to Emily as well. When their little meetup is over, Katie attempts to hug Emily goodbye, but she refuses the hug. In the next scene, we see Shannon at home with her assistant. She's talking about the spa day that she's going to host. They're putting together gift bags, and Shannon tells her assistant that she's invited everyone, also Tamra. And in the confessional, Shannon tells us that she invited Tamra not to heal their relationship, but so that Tamra would have an opportunity to heal herself, and that the fact that Shannon hugged her at the reunion just does not negate all of the hurts Tamra has caused her. And I really hope that Shannon will stick to this time. But honestly, Tamra and Shannon are so hot and cold. They break up, they get back together, they repeat the same cycle, and I'm just not getting invested anymore. We switch to Tamra and Eddie at home, and Tamra tells Eddie that she will not be begging Shannon for a friendship, but that it's amazing how she can throw away friendships so easily. And also she tells him that she feels like Shannon betrayed her in the worst way. Then she does some more fake crying, again, no tears, and says that Shannon turned on her and she calls her heartless. Eddie chimes in to say that Shannon has never been a real friend. Eddie, shut up. The day of Shannon's spa day finally comes. Apparently, the Golden Door is a very exclusive spa with a very famous clientele. Apparently, Oprah used to go there. Even Elizabeth Taylor used to go, as well as Julia Roberts. Shannon shares that she will be going to a retreat there next week and that it's $13,000 for 8 days. Wow, she better come back a new person for real. At this point, I'm a little anxious. I'm just waiting for the ish to go down, as it always does, but I do hope they know better. I don't want to cringe. But Shannon sets the intention for the day. She wants clarity, and she really hopes that everyone can heal and move on. Tamra shows up, and she's really sad and upset because of her friend's cancer situation. Everyone is really sympathetic to her. The women bring up the Katie situation again, and at this point, I'm already getting annoyed, and it's only the first episode. But Gina says that she just does not trust Katie. Emily feels like Katie is trying to hurt everyone, and she even made a notes app list of all the wrongs that Katie has done in her eyes. And in the confessional, she actually sits there and reads it off one by one. Heather, non-surprisingly, makes it about herself and says that she is disappointed that no one believed her about Emily last season. So the day starts. Half of the group, they do Tai Chi, and the other group do Tai Ko, which is drumming. Gina's part of the Tai Chi group, and they head over to the yoga studio with the instructor, and she made me so uncomfortable because this is obviously supposed to be a very high class, serene, calm place. And what is she doing? She's cursing. When they get to the studio, she points out some fixtures on the walls that are apparently for stretching. And she tells the instructor that it looks like it's for BDSM and that it looks like bondage. And the instructor is clearly uncomfortable. Like, Gina's just so inappropriate. You can't take her anywhere. The other half of the group has started drumming. Emily has no rhythm whatsoever, and she's also talking during the class, which is so annoying, but Shannon is cracking me up. She's really into drumming. She's doing the chant. She's like, ka, ka, do, ka, ka. Back at Tai Chi, it looks like no one is enjoying it, and it's like hilarious. They're like, but they're all trying. When the classes are over, the drumming group stays sitting outside for a bit, and Katie sees a bug on Emily, and she's like, can I remove this bug off of you? And she does it. When I tell you, Emily really looked like she wanted to end Katie, and honestly, I would have just let that bug crawl up and down her, but that's just me. In the studio, Tamra tells the women that she does not want to be around Jen or any of her nonsense. Ma'am, what nonsense? You were the one who has gone after her. And mind you, they were supposed to be friends for 10 years. Delusional. Tamra then starts screaming, what is she mad at? Is it because I said, how is the FBI? So much for therapy and self-improvement. That woman is crazy. The women in the other group ask Jen about Tamra and how she feels seeing her. And Jen is like, it's whatever. She literally does not care. Tamra then in her confessional claims that Jen and Eddie have been going after her on social media and that they're really aggressive, but that she can't say anything to them because then Ryan will sue her. To my great relief, Jen admits to this and she says, yes, I have been taking jobs on social media. She shares with the women that Ryan did send Tamra a cease and desist and that now Tamra is making them out to be the Sue happy couple. The women do hold her accountable, however, and Emily brings up the fact that Ryan not only took a picture of the dropped off cease and desist, but that he also shared it with a blogger to be posted. And Emily tells Jen that there should be boundaries. Again, you have none. Jen, however, just straight up admits that she didn't care at that point, and I totally get it. The two groups come together and they're having a lunch outside, and it's decorated so beautifully. There are these gorgeous white flowers everywhere on the table. Katie uses this opportunity to invite everyone to lunch. She's hosting a hot pot lunch, and it's really awkward. There's just this dead silence. But then I think it was Jen says, oh, that's nice, I'll be there. But and maybe Shannon said something, but it feels like no one said anything. Awkward. Katie explains that she just wants to get to know everyone and that she feels like they haven't gotten to know each other very well. And Gina in her confessional says that she knows too much about Katie and that's the problem. And then she tells Katie that she feels like she wants to hurt all of them. Heather then speaks up and she tells Katie that she really has to stop the whole talking to bloggers. Jen tries to defend Katie by saying that she feels like she has taken the time to get to know Katie and her personality, but Gina interrupts her by reminding her of the fact that even she has confusion and concerns when it comes to Katie. That's when Katie tells Gina that she actually asked Jen if she called her con artist, and Jen said no. Jen then claims that she doesn't remember if she used that word about Katie or not. Like I said, I think Jen probably did say it. That's a strong claim to make about someone and then forget. In her confessional, Jen says that these inconsistencies with Katie's are not big or catastrophic. And the blogger thing, for example, she says that Katie does not view these people as bloggers, but she actually sees them as friends. And she also says that whenever she has questions for Katie, Katie answers them and she accepts them and moves on. It's just not that deep to her. And she feels like it doesn't affect anyone. And at the table, Jen argues that really Katie's lies don't really affect anyone. This is when Emily starts screaming again and she's complaining about how she had to hire a lawyer. Side note, both her and Shane are lawyers. I know that each lawyer has their specific field of law, but at the same time, I don't think a cease and desist is so complicated that two seasoned lawyers wouldn't be able to compose one regardless of their field of law. Anyway, Emily blames Katie for having to hire this lawyer to send the cease and desist because of invasion of privacy and defamation. And she feels like she wouldn't have to be dealing with all of this if Katie had just ignored the blogger. And she feels like she can't get to know Katie because of that. But is it just me, or is Emily focused on the wrong person here? The reason you're having to deal with all of this and having to hire lawyers is not Katie. It's your ex-nanny. She is the person who invaded your privacy and who is, according to you, defaming you. And honestly, even if Katie had not referred her to a podcast, it's not that difficult to look them up. I'm really sure that nanny would have eventually found a podcast on her own to go to. So relax, Emily. This is when Shannon speaks up and tells the group that she's not comfortable with this pileup that's happening. Heather then brings up that Katie broke the reunion pact by allegedly consoling this blogger who has been accusing Tamra of running fake accounts. Katie then repeats her side of the story, saying that she never called this blogger. She actually responded to a DM from them. She also doesn't know their number or even their first name. And in the confessionals, she reasons that bloggers just lie just to lie, for clickbait. Katie then makes a grave mistake at the table. She really set herself up for that when she said that she even told Tamra that she wants to go through her DMs to prove it to her. Everyone jumps on that, especially Gina. They're like, do it now. Pull out your phone. We want to see the DMs. Tamra also wants Katie to look now. And Gina's actually screaming in Katie's face. And Katie says that she doesn't have service, which no one believes, even when Shannon tells them that, look, I was here for 8 days and I didn't have service. I actually had to use the landline. Tamra says that she would be climbing trees to get reception, and Gina just keeps on pressuring her to show her receipts, and she feels like she needs to clear her name if she's really telling the truth. And when Katie refuses to, she tells Tamra that she feels like Katie wants to go back and delete the proof on her phone. Not only did Katie set herself up for this, but her response is also unfortunate. When they keep urging her to show her phone, she tells them that it's between her and Tamra. Very unfortunate. If you ask me, there are inconsistencies with Katie, and she probably is a liar. However, like Jen said, it's not big or catastrophic. And like I said earlier, these housewives all talk to bloggers and they go on podcasts and they start mess. And I don't think anything Katie has or hasn't done is as awful as what Emily and Heather did to her at that reunion. This is where the episode ends. I had so much fun recapping. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you on our next vacation. Until then, have a great day. Bye.